A single candle flickered in the room, its flame stretching as if pulled by an unseen force. The air felt thick, heavy with an unnatural presence. Inside this dim, confined space, Lily knelt, hands trembling. "Please, I need to feel it again," she whispered into the suffocating silence. Her voice was soft but desperate, begging for something she once had and lost. Every breath felt shallow, as though the very air was alive, watching her. The shadows danced unnaturally on the walls, stretching, contracting, twisting like liquid ink. The candle flickered once more, and suddenly a cold chill swept across the room. Lily's chest tightened as the flame twisted upward, impossibly high. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the floorboards. The room seemed to tremble. A movement, just a flicker, slithered across the walls, casting long alien shadows. Lily's heart raced. Was this a sign? A call? There was no answer, only a growing sense of weight in the air. A burning light enveloped the room, white and fierce, flashing out like lightning. The candle burst into cold, silver flame, radiating a pure, blinding light. And then through the haze of light, a tall, shifting silhouette materialized. The edges of the figure gleamed like molten silver, a shadow wrapped in fire. Lily froze, her throat tight, unable to speak. A voice, deep and ancient, resonated within her chest, shaking her very soul. "You have been seen." The words echoed, vibrating through her body as if they were carved into her bones. Every part of her felt marked. What was this? Was it divine? Or was it something far darker? Lily's mind raced, but she could not move. The figure towered, silent, its presence overwhelming. She had felt lost before, but now she was seen, trapped in this vision of flame and shadow. The room felt oppressive, the silence between the two of them deafening. Lily sat still, her hands resting on her lap, fingers fidgeting nervously. The faithful guide watched her intently, a quiet strength in his eyes. "You've been chosen," he said softly, breaking the heavy silence. Lily stiffened at the words, unsure whether to embrace them or reject them. She had heard them before, but they never felt real until now. "Chosen for what?" Her voice shook. The faithful guide remained calm, his expression unwavering. "For the path ahead. This isn't just an accident. There's a reason." But Lily felt nothing but confusion. Was there really a reason? Or was it just her mind grasping at something she couldn't understand? She tried to steady her breath, but each passing second only deepened her sense of uncertainty. She wanted to believe. She wanted to feel something more than fear. But all she felt was emptiness. She looked up at the faithful guide. "What if I can't do it? What if I fail?" she whispered. His eyes softened. "Then you try again. You can't fail if you keep trying." The words lingered in the air, but they did little to soothe her growing doubt. What if there was no second chance? Lily stood before the skeptic, a man whose sharp eyes never seemed to soften. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, as he looked at her with a mixture of disbelief and skepticism. "You actually believe this nonsense?" he asked, his voice laced with disdain. Lily faltered, unsure of how to respond. She had believed in something once, hadn't she? "I have to believe," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, her eyes darting away. The skeptic scoffed, pushing himself off the doorframe and walking towards her. "Belief in what? A god? A force? A dream?" His tone was mocking, as though he were the one holding the truth, and the burden of faith was nothing but a weakness. "Faith doesn't answer questions, Lily. It just leaves you lost and blind." Lily's heart pounded, the seed of doubt beginning to take root. Could the skeptic be right? Was she really just grasping at thin air? She had felt something once, something real, something powerful. But now, it felt like the walls were closing in around her. "What do you believe in then?" she asked, her voice rising slightly in frustration. He met her gaze, his eyes colder than before. "I believe in what I can see and prove. Anything beyond that is just a distraction." The room was small, filled with the smell of old wood and incense. The redeemed soul sat across from Lily, their eyes locked in a silent understanding. "I've done things," the redeemed soul began, their voice low and shaky. "Things I can't take back. Things that still haunt me." They stared into the distance, lost in memories. "I thought I was beyond saving. I thought I had killed whatever good was left in me." Lily watched, feeling the weight of their words press down on her. She had no idea what this person had done to feel so lost, but she could feel their pain. "What changed?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. The redeemed soul smiled faintly, a sad, bittersweet expression. "Faith," they said simply. "Faith in something greater than myself. I didn't believe at first, but slowly it brought me back. It healed me." Lily's heart fluttered at the words. Could it really work that way? Could belief heal the wounds that cut so deeply? She felt her doubts creeping in again, but this time there was something different. A flicker of hope. The room grew colder, the candle flickering as though caught in an unseen draft. Lily stood alone in the center, feeling the weight of a presence all around her. She looked around, her breath catching in her throat. "Am I alone?" she whispered, barely believing the words that left her mouth. There was no answer, just the deafening silence. Suddenly, a voice broke through the stillness, not from a person, but from somewhere deep within. "You are not alone, Lily." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She spun around, her eyes wide with terror, but no one was there. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice trembling. The voice was not familiar, but it was soothing, reassuring in its calm. "I have always been here," the voice continued, "waiting for you to listen. The journey ahead is not easy, but it is necessary." Lily sank to her knees, overwhelmed by the weight of the moment. Was this truly divine? Could it be the force she had been searching for? Or was it just her mind slipping into madness? The air was thick with the sound of running footsteps. Lily moved through the dark alleyway, heart pounding in her chest. She could hear them getting closer. They were coming for her. The weight of the chase pressed down on her as she stumbled, breath coming in ragged gasps. The dim glow of the streetlights cast long shadows, amplifying her sense of isolation. She could feel their presence like a weight on her back. "Stay focused," she whispered to herself. The rustling of the leaves and the distant echo of voices grew louder, but there was nowhere to hide. She rounded the corner, nearly tripping over her feet. Her chest tightened, and her mind raced. Was this it? Was she already too late? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps behind her stopped. A cold silence swept through the alley. Lily froze. She turned, expecting to see one of them, but there was nothing. Not a soul in sight, yet the fear lingered thick in the air. A shadow moved against the wall, too fast to be real. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaking. No answer, but the feeling remained, like she was being watched, hunted. Lily collapsed against the brick wall, panting, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She slid to the ground, knees trembling beneath her. The cool night air didn't help. The sweat on her skin made the cold worse. She looked around, her senses heightened. The silence was almost unbearable. Where had they gone? Had she lost them? Was it a trick? The moment she closed her eyes, the weight of the chase hit her all over again. Her thoughts scrambled in every direction. Was she safe for now? Or was this only a temporary reprieve? She felt something shift in the air, a pressure that made her skin crawl. Something was wrong. Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice from the shadows. "It's not over." The voice was familiar. The faithful guide. He stepped forward, his silhouette barely visible in the dim light. "You've made it this far, but it's not safe here." "I don't know what to do," Lily admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't understand any of this." The faithful guide extended a hand to help her up. "You're not meant to understand everything right now. But trust me, the answers are within you. You must keep moving." The calm was short-lived. From the shadows, a cold laugh echoed, followed by the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps. Lily's heart raced as she stood, trying to steady herself, but her knees felt like jelly. The air turned ice-cold, and she could see her breath misting in front of her. She turned toward the sound, but there was nothing. Only the oppressive weight of something unseen. A voice pierced through the stillness. "Did you think you could hide from me?" The voice was deep, resonating in the very air around them. "You cannot escape." The faithful guide stepped forward, his expression hardening. Not him, not now, but it was too late. Lily felt it before she saw it. An overwhelming presence, a dark, suffocating power. A shadow loomed, impossibly tall and wide, wrapping around them both. She could feel its grip on her, its cold fingers tightening around her chest. Her vision blurred and she stumbled back, gasping for air. "You will not find peace here." The voice continued, a promise and a threat all at once. As the shadow receded, the air grew thick with tension. The faithful guide stepped between Lily and the approaching darkness, his posture unwavering. "You must understand, this is not just about survival," he said, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "This is about belief. You must have faith, even in the face of fear." Lily shook her head, her confusion deepening. "How can I have faith in something I can't see?" she asked, her voice breaking. "How can I trust something that doesn't make sense?" "You trust it by walking forward," he answered gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You've already begun, and that is the hardest step. Don't let the darkness cloud your vision." For a moment, the two stood in silence. Lily could feel the weight of his words pressing down on her. "But I'm afraid," she admitted quietly. "Fear is part of it, but you must move through it. The choice is yours." Lily stood at the edge of the alley, looking toward the open street. The path ahead was uncertain, but there was no turning back. She had learned too much now. Her heart still pounded in her chest, and doubt gnawed at her mind, but Lily knew what she had to do. "I'm scared," she whispered to herself. But then, a soft but firm voice echoed in her mind. "You must keep moving." It was the faithful guide, his words still lingering in the air. She could hear the footsteps behind her again. Slow, deliberate. They were closing in. She turned, taking one last look at the street before stepping forward into the unknown. Her breath steadied as she ran, determined to face whatever was coming, whatever she had to confront next. The chase was far from over, but she would no longer run in fear. She would fight. The warmth of the fire crackled softly in the corner of the room, casting long shadows on the walls. Lily sat across from the faithful guide, the two of them in a rare moment of peace. The scent of old books filled the air, the quiet hum of the wind outside providing an eerie calm. "You've done well so far," he said, offering her a faint smile. But there was something in his eyes, something that didn't quite match the softness in his voice. Lily smiled back, but it didn't reach her eyes. The tension between them was palpable, like a thin veil ready to tear. She could feel it, the weight of something about to shift, something not quite right. "Thank you," she replied, unsure if she meant it. Her eyes flicked nervously to the window. There was a slight noise, distant footsteps on the cobblestone street. The night seemed too still, like a storm about to break. Then the sound of approaching voices from outside caused her pulse to quicken. She didn't want to look paranoid, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Lily's breath hitched. "What is it?" the faithful guide asked, his voice cool, but his eyes betraying a flicker of concern. "I'm not sure," she replied softly. "It's just too quiet." But before either of them could respond, the door creaked open behind them, and the light flickered. "Lily," a familiar voice called, "you're not alone anymore." Outside, the storm picked up, the rain tapping against the windows. Lily and the faithful guide sat in silence, the weight of their previous conversation hanging between them. Lily's thoughts were scattered, but she couldn't ignore the growing trust she felt. She finally broke the silence. "I've never met anyone like you," she admitted. "You've been nothing but kind to me." "But why? Why help me?" The faithful guide looked at her, his eyes softening. "Because you're special, Lily. You've been chosen for a reason. I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself yet." He paused, as if considering his next words carefully. "Everyone has their purpose. You'll find yours soon enough." Lily swallowed, unsure if she could trust him completely. There was something almost too perfect about his kindness, something that felt too rehearsed. But then he reached across the table, touching her hand lightly. "I'm here, and I'll help you get through this," he promised. She looked into his eyes, but doubt clouded her judgment. Was this sincerity, or was he hiding something? Her heart pounded louder than the storm outside. Lily and the skeptic stood across from each other in the narrow hallway, the tension thick between them. His arms were crossed, his gaze sharp as he looked at her, almost accusing. "You really trust him, don't you?" he said, his voice carrying disbelief. "You trust someone who speaks of fate and destiny, while the world around us burns?" Lily frowned, her chest tightening. "What's wrong with believing in something bigger than ourselves?" she asked, her voice defiant. "I've seen the signs. I believe in something beyond what's right in front of me." The skeptic shook his head, a small, bitter smile crossing his lips. "That's where you're wrong. Believing in something without proof just makes you weak. You're letting yourself be deceived." "And what about you?" Lily challenged. "Are you really happy with a life of nothing but logic and reason? Does it make you feel alive?" For a moment, the two just stared at each other, their ideologies clashing. Lily felt something stir inside her, a deep unease. She understood what he meant, but at the same time, she couldn't deny the truth she felt. Something far more significant than mere logic. The door slammed open, and Lily whipped around in surprise. The faithful guide stepped inside, his face unreadable. Without warning, he raised his hand, and in one swift motion, Lily's world shattered. The force sent her crashing to the ground. She stared up, her eyes wide in disbelief. "Why?" she gasped, struggling to comprehend what had just happened. The faithful guide's voice was cold, a sharp contrast to the kindness he had shown her. "You were always meant to be a pawn in this game," he spat. "The moment you trusted me, you sealed your fate." Lily stumbled back, her chest tightening as realization set in. "You... No, you told me you were here to help me." He smirked, the expression filled with malice. "I never promised you anything, Lily. I only showed you what you wanted to see. Now it's time to finish this." Lily sat alone in the corner of the abandoned room, her body shaking. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving only the sting of betrayal. Her hands were trembling, and she couldn't stop the tears from falling. She had trusted him, believed in his words, and now... How could I have been so blind? She whispered to herself, her voice trembling. Her mind raced, replaying every moment, every word spoken by the faithful guide. She felt sick, her stomach churning. The storm outside had finally quieted, but inside, Lily was left with an overwhelming silence. The truth had shattered her, and now she was alone. But this was not the end. Her gaze hardened. The betrayal had ignited something inside her, a desire for vengeance, for truth. "I will make this right," she vowed, her voice steely with newfound determination. The game had changed. Silence settled like dust after a storm, and the room felt hollow. Lily sat where the blow had landed, listening to the slow tick of a distant pipe. The air was cold and thin, as if the windows had learned to breathe. She traced cracks in the floor with unfocused eyes. "He lied," she said, and the words cooled the room further. The fire's ash clicked softly, a faint metronome for grief. She replayed his smiles, each one now a door that never led anywhere. Threads of memory crossed, tying knots she could not unknot. Outside, a siren wailed, then faded, like a warning that arrived too late. On the table, a candle stub leaned toward a smear of wax shaped like a tear. Lily noticed a faint silver residue on her sleeve, and the echo of that first flame returned, bright and cold, pointing elsewhere. The scent of old cedar rose from the desk in memory unspooled. Lily stood, yet somewhere else she also knelt, the past sliding over the present like thin glass. Rain tapped the sill, and the sound became that first night of silver fire. "You asked to be seen," a voice had told her, soft as cloth tearing. She saw the faithful guide lift a ledger, pages already marked with her name before they met. Ink bled in tidy lines, promises arranged like traps. "You needed direction," he had said back then, and the word now tasted like metal. Footsteps in the old memory faltered, then kept going, choreographed mercy. She touched the ledger in the present and felt a heartbeat echo from the spine. A pressed sprig lay between entries, brittle and gray. Under it, a note in his hand. "Every wound needs a witness." The letters were careful. The meaning was cruel. She followed the silver trace to the chapel ruins, breath misting in the night. Each step beat loud in her ears. Her hands shook, then steadied. "Come out," Lily said, and the word rang against broken stone. No answer, only wind combing weeds. The air tightened like a held cord. A figure shaped itself from the whiteness near the altar, bright edges breathing. Her pulse climbed, then slowed to a hard drum. "Why me?" she asked, and the space seemed to lean in. Pause. "Because you tried to kill the only thing that could save you," the voice replied, calm, unforced. She tasted salt and iron, and grief bent her forward. The quiet did not comfort, it carved. "Show me the truth," she said, and heard how thin her courage was. The light moved closer, and the stones remembered fire. The faithful guide stepped from the shadow of a broken arch, voice smooth as oil. "He shows you fragments," he said, and the echo folded neatly around the words. Lily did not turn away. "You wrote my name before I arrived," she said, breath even now. He smiled, patient, priestly. "Order saves the lost. I gather strays before storms take them." The messenger's light cooled, holding distance. "You harvest them," Lily answered, and the wind agreed in a shiver of leaves. He spread his hands. "Faith without a wall leaks. Doubt is mortar. I supply it. They stay." The sentence landed soft and terrible. "Right and wrong braided until they looked alike. You hurt them to keep them," Lily said, and the truth tasted clean and bitter. He nodded, almost kind. "I keep them alive." The quiet after that line had weight. It did not fall. It pressed. Dawn stitched a thin line of pale gold along the horizon. Lily stood where nave became sky and let the cold pass through her. The night had said its piece. She counted heartbeats until the tremor in her hands faded. "So this was the truth all along," she said, not to accuse, but to mark the path. Loss arrived without drama, a door closing softly. The messenger watched, offering no rescue. The guide lowered his eyes, a prayer without word. Lily breathed in dust and early light, and found the center she had misplaced. She could not unknot the past, but she could refuse the leash. "I won't be kept," she said, and the stones did not argue. The wind carried the ash of old fires out through the broken roof. She took a step toward morning, and it felt like naming herself again. The ground was heavy with tension. Lily's boots barely touched the earth as she approached the clearing, where everything was set to collide. Each breath felt shallow, the air thick with the weight of the upcoming confrontation. The trees around her swayed in the wind, their leaves trembling as though they, too, could sense the impending chaos. Lily clenched her fists, heart pounding in sync with the distant sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, drawing closer. Her eyes scanned the darkness, searching for any sign of movement, but everything was still. Too still. "I won't back down," she muttered to herself. The silence stretched like a wire, taut and fragile, ready to snap. The flicker of torchlight appeared in the distance, followed by a shadow that loomed larger with each passing second. "It's time." The words hung in the air like a challenge, an invitation to destiny. And as the shadow approached, Lily knew her fate would be sealed in this moment. Her breath caught, and her body tensed. She was ready. Or at least, she thought she was. The torchlight grew brighter, and from the shadows emerged the faithful guide, his face unreadable. His calm demeanor was a stark contrast to the fire burning in Lily's chest. "You came," he said softly, as if surprised. "I knew you would." "You knew everything," Lily shot back, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief. "You used me. All of it was a lie. Everything you said was to make me a pawn in your game." His eyes softened, almost pitying, but there was no remorse in his voice. "I did what was necessary, Lily. You couldn't see it, but now you understand." His hand moved slowly toward her, like a comforting gesture. "I kept you from chaos. I kept you safe." "Safe?" Lily scoffed, stepping back, her hands raised in rejection. "You locked me in a cage made of lies? And now you want to talk about safety?" The tension in the air thickened, both of them standing poised like soldiers before battle, but neither willing to make the first move. "You made me believe in something," Lily said, her voice breaking, "and now I see you for what you really are." Before Lily could move, the ground beneath her shook. From the corner of her eye, a figure stepped into the clearing, the redeemed soul, their expression pale and conflicted. "Lily, no!" they cried out, rushing toward her. "This isn't the way." Lily spun, but before she could react, the redeemed soul fell to the ground, blood staining the earth beneath them. A cry caught in Lily's throat, but it was too late. "No, you didn't have to," she choked out, rushing to their side. The redeemed soul reached up, their hand trembling. "It's my choice," they whispered. "You must finish this, for all of us." Lily's heart shattered as she held the redeemed soul in her arms. The figure had been the only one who had ever understood her, and now they were gone. The cost was too great, the truth too painful. Lily closed their eyes, tears mixing with the blood on her hands. The fire that had once held the space between them now flared to life, casting stark shadows on Lily's face. Her chest heaved with anger, her hands shaking as she faced the faithful guide, who remained unmoved. "You took everything from me," Lily shouted, her voice raw with emotion. "You made me believe in your lies, and now you've taken the only thing that mattered." The faithful guide stepped forward, his voice calm and firm. "You never understood, Lily. You still don't. All of this, it's necessary. The world must be controlled, shaped. Chaos cannot reign." But Lily wasn't listening anymore. The fire in her chest was real now, no longer just pain but purpose. With every step she took toward him, The distance between them seemed to grow, as though she were rising above the chaos he had created. "I won't let you control me," she said, her eyes burning with defiance. In the final, breathless moment, Lily struck. The faithful guide barely had time to react before the force of her decision crashed against him. He fell back, a broken shell of what he once was. Lily stood over him, chest rising and falling, her hands still burning with the weight of the truth. The adrenaline that had carried her through the storm faded, leaving only the stillness of the forest. Lily stood alone, the chaos of the confrontation behind her. The world felt different now, quieter, as though the earth itself had taken a breath. "So this is it," she whispered to herself, eyes scanning the horizon. The battle had been won, but the cost, the redeemed soul's death, the lies of the faithful guide, they had all led to this. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, letting the quiet flood in, and when she opened them again, the world felt renewed. She could feel the weight of the decision she had made, but it no longer crushed her. Instead, it grounded her like the earth beneath her feet. The truth had shattered her, but it had also reborn her. "I am ready now," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of a promise. The world ahead was unknown, but for the first time, she was no longer afraid. The sun had barely risen, casting a pale light over the battlefield. The air, still thick with the remnants of battle, seemed to exhale as if the world was breathing again. Lily stood alone, her body worn, but her soul somehow quieter. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of earth and smoke, yet the destruction felt distant now. Her fingers still trembled from the confrontation, but the storm inside her had settled. She looked around at the silence. No more shouting, no more fire. The echoes of rage and betrayal had faded, leaving only stillness. The forest felt different now, like it had washed itself clean. "This is what I fought for," she whispered to herself. The weight of what she had lost, the people, the truth, the path she had walked, settled into her chest. It was heavier than she thought, but it was also lighter. Lily's gaze moved upward to the open sky, the rising sun soft and warm against the early morning chill. She could see the beginning of a new day. But was it truly a new day? Or was it just another in a long line of endings? Lily walked along the edge of the clearing, the soft crunch of her steps breaking the silence. The guilt still clung to her, each step an effort to shake the weight of it off. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered, but her own voice was too small in the vastness of the world she now faced. Memories of the fallen flashed before her. The redeemed soul, the faithful guide, and the moments she had missed, her own choices leading her here. Each face was a story, each loss a scar on her heart. Her mind wandered to the words she'd heard before, the lies she had been fed. "I was a pawn." The words didn't have the same sting now. They were just words. Still, they carried the weight of everything she had learned, and everything she had lost. "Now I understand," she said aloud, a soft acceptance falling over her like a blanket. The world, it seemed, would continue without her, unchanged. But Lily wasn't the same. She had seen the cost of truth, and now there was no going back. Lily froze mid-step. A faint rustle in the brush made her heart skip, but it wasn't the wind. The figure before her was faint, translucent, ghostly, like a memory not quite ready to leave. It was the redeemed soul, their form flickering in the soft light like a candle flame. The sight was both a relief and a heartache. "I failed you," Lily whispered, her voice breaking as she stepped forward. "I couldn't protect you." The redeemed soul's presence seemed to calm her, like a balm for the wounds she carried. "You didn't fail me," they whispered back, voice soft, but carrying a weight of truth. "You've done what you were meant to do. This was never about protecting me. It was about you." Lily felt the tears rise again, but this time they were not of guilt. They were of acceptance. She had lost someone dear, but their words gave her peace. "Thank you," she said, her voice raw. As the day wore on, Lily returned to the old campfire where she had first met the faithful guide. The remnants of their time together still lingered. An empty chair, the faint smell of burnt wood, the ashes from the fire that once burned bright. Her fingers traced the edge of a broken stone where his teachings had once seemed so clear. Now, those same words felt like ghosts. "You were right about one thing," Lily said aloud, her voice carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken thoughts. "We are all part of something bigger." She took a deep breath, the realization settling into her bones. The lessons he had taught her had been twisted, but they had not been lies. They were simply pieces of a puzzle she hadn't yet understood. "I understand now." The wind picked up, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. She closed her eyes, letting the past mix with the present, finding peace in the echoes of his voice. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the world in shades of orange and pink. Lily stood at the edge of a cliff, looking out at the vast horizon. The world was now hers to shape, yet the weight of what had transpired still pressed on her shoulders. The decision had been made. "This is my path," she whispered to the wind. "No one else." It wasn't just a statement, it was a declaration. She had fought to find herself, and now she stood at the precipice of what came next. Her gaze hardened as she stepped forward. "I am ready." She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time she was no longer afraid to face it. The world was still, the aftermath of conflict hanging heavy in the air. The sun rose, casting soft light over the land as Lily stood alone, breathing in the silence. "What's left?" she wondered quietly, reflecting on the losses, the choices, and what she had become. The world had changed, but so had she. The question lingered. Was it worth it? Lily walked away, leaving behind the remnants of the past. "I've done what I could," she whispered, acknowledging her journey. Every step was a release, a departure from the life she once knew. She chose to move forward, to embrace the unknown. Lily stood at the ruins, holding a letter, words from the past. "The journey is always your own," she read aloud. The teachings from the faithful guide echoed in her mind. His legacy remained, not as a burden, but as a guide she would carry forward. Time moved on. Lily felt the quiet shift in the world around her. The seasons passed, and the landscape felt familiar yet new. She smiled, accepting the past for what it was. "I'm still here," she thought, ready to continue. In the soft glow of night, Lily stood at the edge of the forest. "Truth must never be owned," she whispered, feeling the weight of her journey. The past had shaped her, but she was ready to step into the unknown, free and unafraid.